Hello, Jeff here, and welcome to a new 4-part series on the channel where I'll be providing some information to help guide newcomers to 6mm miniatures. Bear in mind, I'm not an expert by any means, but since starting 6mm, I've come across some things that I would have found useful when I first started out. And I thought I'd share some of that information. One of the main things that gets commented on, both on my YouTube videos and in real life, is painting such small figures. So I thought I'd start by addressing the frequent question of how do you paint those, they're so small. Firstly, although they look intimidating, I'd say generally speaking, the size actually makes them easier to paint. You normally have multiple figures in close order on bases, so most mistakes aren't visible. Also, due to them being so small, just blocking in colours and giving them a dark wash tends to create a really nice effect without putting in too much time. But ultimately, how you paint such small figures starts at the same place as larger figures. So for this episode, I'll be talking about choosing a primer for your figures. Like most things in miniature painting, it eventually boils down to personal preference, but I thought I'd discuss some of the options and give my thoughts on them. There are 4 main options: white, grey, black, and a colour primer. I have white, grey, black here. I don't have a coloured one because I don't use colour primers ever, but I thought I'd talk about it anyway. So I'll start with white. I use white on my goths, and I think it's a good choice if you're worried about visibility of the figures when painting, like I was. White makes it easy to see all the details on the figures, so spotting what's what on the miniatures and what needs to be what colour becomes a great deal easier. The only drawback to white is that mistakes tend to show up a little easier because missed spots are little white dots. But in saying that, the closeness of the figures on a base, the fact that they are so small and that 90% of the time they will be sitting at arm's length or further away, you probably won't see any mistakes at all. So if you're someone that's worried about being able to see what you're painting, I'd say go for white. Now I'll move on to grey. Grey provides a lot of the same benefits as white, because it's, especially if you use a medium grey, especially because it's still kind of light and it's not too dark. So you get decent visibility of the details on the figures. What grey also offers is less visible mistakes. Because it's more of a neutral colour and it's a bit darker, when you make a mistake, after you've washed the figures, those little dots won't show up the same way they would if it was white. Now on to black. So black is much the same as grey in terms of mistake visibility, and I'd say it's probably the best for it. Where black can fall short though is general visibility factor. It's a bit harder to see details with black. Although once you put a base colour or 2 down, details tend to become a lot more visible because the black really pops out against the colours. I've also seen people using the black to their advantage by just painting the middle of things so that black borders all the colours. It creates a sort of drawn or cartoony look to the figures, which isn't really my style, but it does nonetheless look really good. The last option, and one I don't really have a demonstration miniature for, is a colour primer. So if you're working on figures that are going to be mostly one colour, this is probably a really good option, sort of like it is with larger scales. So stuff like orcs or skeletons or heavily armoured soldiers, and even some World War II figures that have a lot of just one single colour, they're the sorts of things you want. I think like Sherman tanks, and they're all green look. Also like, skeletons with they're mostly bones if they don't have much armour on them. Orcs or goblins if they've got a lot of their skin showing. The colour primer can really make painting them up really quick, because once you've hit it with a primer, all you have to do is dot in the details and maybe touch up a little bit of the main colour here and there, add a wash, and you'll be all done. So yeah, that's my thoughts on choosing a primer. I'd be interested to hear what others think about different primers for 6mm, and if you're new to 6mm miniatures in general, keep an eye out for the next episode of A Beginner's Guide to 6mm. But for now, as always, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on my next one. Bye for now.